Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely pumped you're joining us today because we are diving headfirst into one of the most fascinating, high-stakes situations unfolding in professional sports right now. The Seattle Seahawks are standing squarely at a monumental crossroads. Over the last few days, some massive developments have surfaced regarding the future ownership of this historic franchise. But simultaneously, and this is where it gets really interesting, there are serious, pressing questions about how this exact same team plans to defend its championship status and stay on top of a fiercely competitive NFC. We're talking about a conference where power dynamics are shifting rapidly, rivalries are intensifying by the minute, and the margin for error, it's practically zero. Now, at first glance, these might seem like two completely unrelated stories, right? You've got a front office, boardroom transition on one hand, and an on-field X's and O's battle plan on the other. But when we really step back and look at the whole picture, they are inextricably linked. It's like a giant puzzle. The Seahawks are entering a brand new chapter, and whether you are excited, nervous, or maybe feeling deeply emotional about it, massive change is definitely on the horizon.
So here is our roadmap for today. First, we're going to look at the dual crossroads. Then we'll discuss the end of the Allen era, followed by a look at a staggering $9 billion sale. After that, we're diving into the discipline of champions. And finally, we'll map out the path to a dynasty. Let's get into it. Section 1, the dual crossroads.
So I want you to think about this question. How exactly does a team handle a monumental shift in ownership while at the exact same time trying to defend a championship status? It's kind of a mind bender. Usually, when an NFL team goes up for sale, it's because the franchise is really struggling. They're rebuilding, they're losing games, and they desperately need a hard reset from the top down. But that is definitively not the case here in Seattle. The Seahawks are operating near the absolute top of their game. Yet the absolute last thing any championship-caliber football team needs is a cloud of uncertainty hanging over the organization. Players need unshakable focus to execute on Sundays. Coaches need pure focus to scheme against top-tier opponents. The front office needs focus to make those razor-thin roster decisions. Navigating this immense organizational uncertainty without letting it bleed onto the field and derail their dominance in the NFC is literally the ultimate tightrope walk. It requires a level of internal fortitude that, frankly, very few organizations in sports actually possess.
Moving on to Section 2. End of the Allen era. For months now, there has been widespread speculation, but multiple insiders are now actively pointing to the very real possibility of a franchise sale happening before the start of the upcoming season. Let that sink in. To genuinely understand the gravity of that timeline, we absolutely have to look at the past. An entire generation of Seahawks football has been built on the vision established by the late Paul Allen. His impact, it simply cannot be overstated. When he purchased the team back in the 1990s, he effectively saved the franchise from leaving Seattle. From there, he completely transformed the entire organization. He invested heavily in winning, and he built a culture that birthed the legendary 12s fan base. He turned Seattle into one of the most intimidating, deafening places to play in all of global sports. Think about the rise of the Legion of Boom, the unforgettable playoff runs, the Super Bowl appearances. That was entirely his era. In recent years, Jody Allen has overseen the organization, acting as an absolutely crucial bridge. She maintained total stability during a period that, honestly, could have easily spiraled into chaos. But looking to the future, it feels like we are definitively approaching the end of that stewardship, with a potential sale acting as the undeniable catalyst for the next great era of Seattle football. And you can really feel the weight of this transition. As insiders close to the situation have said, we're saying goodbye to a chapter of Seahawks history that has defined this franchise for years. When people inside the actual building start describing recent events as feeling like a farewell or a final gathering, it really resonates. It gives you chills. For the fan base, there is a deep, deeply nostalgic connection to this passing era. Many fans grow up watching this team transform from a lovable underdog into an absolute perennial powerhouse under the Allen family's watch. Acknowledging this emotional reality is vital because it perfectly explains the intense pressure surrounding this looming transition. We have to remember, this isn't just some corporate business transaction. No way. It is the handing over of a deeply cherished civic institution that is completely woven into the fabric of the Pacific Northwest. Which brings us to Section 3, a $9 billion sale. $9 billion. Just let that number sit there for a second. Saying it out loud sounds almost unbelievable, doesn't it? Reports suggest that the Seahawks could be valued at, or incredibly close to, this staggering $9 billion mark. Now, to put that into perspective, if a sale happens anywhere near this range, it wouldn't just be big news for Seattle. It would immediately become one of the most significant, record-breaking transactions in global sports history. Now, we are seeing valuations for major sports franchises absolutely skyrocket across the board lately. This is happening as media rights expand globally and live sports remain the absolute undisputed king of television broadcasting. But even in that highly inflated context, a $9 billion price tag is monumental. It's a massive statement. It proves the Seahawks are no longer just a successful NFL team. They have evolved into one of the most prestigious, blue-chip sports properties in the entire world. So you might be wondering, what exactly drives a $9 billion valuation? It isn't just a state-of-the-art stadium or some really lucrative TV deals. The core assets are deeply, deeply ingrained in the franchise's culture. First off, you have a powerful, fiercely loyal fan base that reliably generates massive revenue and creates an unparalleled game day environment. Second, there is an incredible commitment from the city of Seattle itself, completely tying the team's identity to the region. And third, there is an uncompromised winning standard that has been maintained for decades. Think about it. Whoever the next ownership group is, and sure, prominent names are certainly circulating, though nothing is finalized, they aren't just buying a roster of 53 players. They are buying a standard of excellence. The real challenge for the new owners? It won't be writing the check. The real challenge will be proving they understand exactly what makes Seahawks football so special and maintaining that world-class culture that justifies this historic valuation in the first place.
Section 4, the discipline of champions.
Now, while the boardroom ownership story is massive, the front office's strategy on the field is equally fascinating. We see division rivals like the Los Angeles Rams repeatedly making these splashy blockbuster moves to add elite talent. And naturally, when a division rival goes all in on a massive trade or a huge free agent signing, what happens? It creates immense anxiety. It creates intense external pressure from fans, from sports talk radio, from media personalities demanding reactive, headline-grabbing moves in response. But the Seattle approach, it is entirely different. They trust the system, they stay impeccably disciplined. Actually, last season was the perfect example of this philosophy in action. When people were actively criticizing Seattle's defensive line and demanding dramatic, sweeping changes, the coaching staff simply trusted their developmental system. The front office trusted their carefully curated roster. Because here's the thing about Seattle, they don't chase offseason headlines, they chase Lombardi trophies. And it all boils down to this fundamental belief. The biggest name isn't always the biggest solution. John Schneider and the Seahawks front office have earned a rare benefit of the doubt in professional sports. They possess this incredibly scarce quality, the ability to make difficult, highly disciplined decisions without overreacting or panicking to outside noise. Now, that certainly doesn't mean they won't explore adding talented defenders that fit their precise age profile and long-term timeline. It simply means Seattle is never, ever operating from a place of desperation. They already know they have the core pieces required to compete at the absolute highest level.
Finally, Section 5, the path to a dynasty.
So how do they transition from a single championship to multi-year dominance? Well, Seattle possesses a remarkably comprehensive arsenal to make that dynasty a reality. First, they have the proven stars and established veterans. These are the guys who have already navigated the brutal gauntlet of an NFL season and know exactly what it takes to win it all. Then they have highly touted, developing young talents just waiting in the wings to take that next big leap. But the real game changers, the elements that separate good teams from legendary ones, are their hidden roster weapons and their flexible draft capital. Seattle has this legendary knack for finding unexpected heroes. You know the type? We are talking about undrafted free agents or late-round draft picks who are completely off the national radar, but suddenly they step up, they execute their assignments flawlessly, and they become absolutely vital cogs in a winning formula. Furthermore, the front office has positioned themselves exceptionally well with draft capital over the next few years. This gives them options. It gives them incredible leverage. It means they have the exact premium resources required to strike aggressively when the perfect franchise-altering opportunity presents itself, or, just as importantly, to confidently stand pat and draft foundational players if it doesn't. It is a highly dangerous, incredibly versatile combination for the rest of the league to deal with.
So, bringing this all together, the overarching theme of this transition is really discipline amid uncertainty. When you step back and connect all the dots, the truly remarkable part of this story emerges. Usually major organizational transitions, especially something as massive and paradigm-shifting as a $9 billion sale, create intense internal instability, locker room anxiety, and front office fear. It's just human nature. But this situation, it feels entirely different. The Seahawks actually feel stronger and more resolute than ever because their foundation, their leadership, and their competitive culture are so incredibly solid. They are working, they are building, and they are preparing for another deep postseason run, completely unbothered by the external noise of the boardroom. Which leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question to ponder. Will this crossroads lead to a new Seahawks dynasty? The critical decisions being made right now, both up in the ownership suite and down in the general manager's office, are going to definitively shape the next entire decade of Seahawks football. But if history have taught us anything, betting against Seattle in moments of adversity or transition has usually been a massive mistake. As we watch this record-breaking sale and this incredible roster evolution unfold side by side, we are literally witnessing sports history in real time. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you enjoyed diving into this as much as I did. Keep this question in the back of your mind as the season approaches, and I will see you next time.